יברכך אדוני וישמרך, יאר אדוני פניו אליך והוניקה, יישא אדוני פניו אליך ויעשה לך שלום, ויעשה לך שלום. יברכך אדוני וישמרך, יאר אדוני פניו אליך והוניקה, יישא אדוני פניו אליך ויעשה לך שלום, ויעשה לך שלום. The Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord shine his face upon you. The Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord shine his face upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord look upon you and give you peace, and give you peace. And be gracious unto you. May the Lord look upon you and give you peace, and give you peace. יישא אדוני פניו אליך ויעשה לך שלום, and give you peace. ויעשה לך שלום, and give you peace. ויעשה לך שלום, and give you
So what are the 4 questions? These 4 questions could be like a test of the Jewish children's development. Eventually, though we don't have anything like that ourselves, the bar mitzvah is a type of celebration when a son, especially, reaches a certain age in the family of a Jewish person. So here's kind of what the 4 questions would look like as the 4 children would be asked. Now, I can't do too well, and I don't intend to offend any Jewish person. I can't read their uh, language too well, but I will read the interpreted version of it. First question: why is it that on all other nights during the year we eat either leavened bread or matzah, but on this night we eat only matzah? Answer number one: we eat only matzah because our ancestors could not wait for their bread to rise when they were fleeing slavery in Egypt, and so they were flat when they came out of the oven. Question two: why is it that on all other nights we eat all kinds of vegetables, but on this night we eat bitter herbs? Answer two: we eat only maror, a bitter herb, to remind us of the bitterness of slavery that our ancestors endured while in Egypt. Question three: why is it that on all other nights we do not dip our food even once, but on this night we dip them twice? Answer three: the first dip, green vegetables, in salt water, symbolizes the replacing of our tears with gratitude, and the second dip, maror, in karosis, symbolizes the sweetening of our burden of bitterness and suffering. And finally, question number four: why is it that on all other nights we dine either sitting upright or reclining, but on this night we all recline? Fourth answer: we recline at the Seder table because in ancient times a person who reclined at a meal was a free person, while slaves and servants stood. And that concludes the four questions. Counting of the Omer. Beginning on the second night of Passover, the 16th day of Nisan, Jews began the practice of the counting of the Omer, a nightly reminder of the approach on the holiday of Shavuot. 50 days hence, each night after the evening prayer service, men and women recite a special blessing and then enumerate the day of the Omer. On the first night, for example, they say, "Today is the first day in or to the Omer." On the second night, "Today is the second day in the Omer." The counting also involves um, weeks. Thus, the seventh day is commemorated. Today is the seventh day, which is 1 week in the Omer. The eighth day is marked. Today is the eighth day, which is 1 week and 1 day in the Omer, etc. When the temple stood in Jerusalem, a sheaf of new cut barley was presented before the altar on the second day of unleavened bread. Josephus writes, "On the second day of unleavened bread, that is to say, the 16th, our people partake of the crops which they have reaped and which have not been touched till then, and esteeming it right first to do homage to God, to whom they owe the abundance of these gifts, they offer to him the first fruits of the barley in the following way. After parching and crushing the little sheaf of ears and purifying the barley for grinding. They bring it to the altar and Asaron for God, and having flung a handful thereof on the altar, they leave the rest for the use of the priests. Thereafter all are permitted, publicly or individually, to begin harvest. Since the destruction of the temple, this offering is brought in word rather than deed. One explanation for the counting of the Omar is that it shows the connection between Passover and Shabbat. The physical freedom and the Hebrews achieved at the Exodus from Egypt was only the beginning of a process that climaxed with the spiritual freedom they gained at the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai. Another explanation is that the newborn nation, which emerged after the Exodus, needed time to learn their new responsibilities vis-a-vis Torah and mitzvah before accepting God's law. The distinction between the Omer offering, a measure of barley, typically animal fodder, and the Shavuot offering, 2 loaves of wheat bread, human food, symbolizes the transition and process. Kol Hamod, which means the intermittent days of Passover. In Israel, Passover lasts for 7 days, with the first and last days being major Jewish holidays. In Orthodox and conservative communities, no work is performed on those days, with most of the rules relating to the observance of Shabbat being applied. Outside of Israel, in Orthodox and conservative communities, the holiday lasts for 8 days, with the first 2 days and last 2 days being major holidays. In the intermediate days necessary work can be performed. Reform Judaism observes Passover over 7 days, with the first and last days being major holidays. Like the holiday of Sukkot, the intermediate days of Passover are known as Kol Hamod, which is festival weekdays, and are imbued with a semi-festive status. It is a time for family outings and picnic lunches of matzo, hard-boiled eggs, fruits and vegetables, and Passover treats such as macaroons and homemade candies. Passover cake recipes call for potato starch or Passover cake flour made from finely granulated matzo instead of regular flour, and a large amount of eggs to achieve fluffiness. Cookie recipes use matzo, farf, which is broken bits of matzo, or ground nuts as the base. For families with Eastern European backgrounds, borscht, a soup made with beets, is a Passover tradition. While kosher for Passover packaged goods are available in stores, some families opt to cook everything from scratch during Passover week. In Israel, families that do not kasher their ovens can bake cakes, casseroles, and even meats on the stovetop in a wonder pot, an Israeli invention consisting of 3 parts: an aluminum pot shaped like a bundt pan, a hooded cover perforated with venting holes, and a thick, round metal disc with a center hole, which is placed between the wonder pot and the flame to disperse heat. Seventh day of Passover. Shavi Shel Pesach. Seventh day of Passover is another full Jewish holiday with special prayer services and festival meals. Outside the land of Israel, in the Jewish diaspora, Shavi Shel Pesach is celebrated on both the 7th and 8th days of Passover. This holiday commemorates the day the children of Israel reached the Red Sea and witnessed both the miraculous splitting of the sea, which is passage of the Red Sea, the drowning of all the Egyptian chariots, horses, and soldiers that pursued them, according to the Midrash. Only the Pharaoh was spared to give testimony to the miracle that occurred. Hasidic rabbis traditionally hold a tish on the night of Shvi Shel Pesach and place a cup or bowl of water on the table before them. They use this opportunity to speak about the splitting of the sea to their disciples and sing songs of praise to God.
Once there was a baby that his name was Moses. A long time ago, there was a mean man named Pharaoh. He was short and he was skinny. I don't know what kind of hat he wears. He just wears a hat. He has this thing that goes like this. He wanted to rule the world.
The slaves were the Jews, had to work all day and night, and the slaves had to build statues of him, pyramids and sphinxes.
Okay, so Pharaoh thought that the Hebrews will be against him, so he sent all the firstborn sons to die. So there was a mother.
She had a big belly, and then there was a baby. She put him in the river. Here's the river. And Pharaoh's daughter, found him and felt sorry for him.
I'll call you Moses.
When Moses was older,
He crossed the desert,
And then he saw this really big bush.
a burning bush that it was talking, and he said to
You have to go and save the Jews. Oh, well, now I can go to Pharaoh and do this.
And then Moses came, and he said, "Let my people go."
Pharaoh said, "What do you mean? You're Egyptian? No, I'm Jewish." And then Pharaoh said,
No.
"Okay, I'm gonna go here."
The water turned to blood. Frogs started coming in.
Ants, pimples, chickenpox.
Oh, there was also life.
Darkness, unlimited homework.
And finally, Pharaoh said, "Yes, just take them."
They were afraid that he would come back and be like, no. And then Moses would be like, "Oh, no, you didn't." "Oh, yes, I did." So he just hurried, put some stuff in the oven.
And they got this sort of
Cracker
called
matzah.
They went as fast as they could to the Red Sea. But then Pharaoh changed his mind, so his men started chasing them.
Moses put his staff in the sea, and it got into two.
And then they went through.
But then all the Egyptian army came.
And then an alien goes to Earth.
I want revenge. There was lots of fire. All the Jews were happy, and they had lots of parties, and then they lived happily ever after in Israel.
If you like this story, please pass it over to people on Passover.
Second Passover. The second Passover, Pesach Sheni, on the 14th of Iyar in the Hebrew calendar, is mentioned in the Hebrew Bible's Book of Numbers, Numbers chapter 9, verse 6 through 13, as a make-up day for people who were unable to offer the Pesach sacrifice at the appropriate time due to ritual impurity or distance from Jerusalem. Just as on the first Pesach night, breaking bones from the second Paschal offering or leaving meat over until morning is prohibited, chapter 9, verse 12. Today, Pesach Sheni on the 14th of Iyar has the status of a very minority holiday, so much so that many of the Jewish people have never even heard of it, and it essentially does not exist outside of Orthodox and traditional conservative Judaism. There are not really any special prayers or observances that are considered Jewish law. The only change in the liturgy is that in some communities, Takhanan, a potential prayer omitted on holidays, is not said. There is a custom, though not Jewish law, to eat just one piece of matzah on that night. Traditional foods. Because the house is free of leaven, that is shemetz, for 8 days, the Jewish household typically eats different foods during the week of Passover. Some include Ashkenazi foods. Those are as follows: matzo, softened in milk or water and fried with egg and fat, served either savory or sweet. Matzo kugel, a kugel made with matzo instead of noodles. Charoset, a sweet mixture of fruit, fresh, dried, or both, nuts, spices, honey, and sometimes wine. The charoset is a symbol of the mortar the Israelites used for building while enslaved in Egypt. See Passover Seder. Train, horseradish and beet relish. Gefilte fish, poached fish patties or fish balls made from a mixture of ground deboned fish, mostly carp or pike. Chicken soup with matzah balls, neglach. Chicken soup served with matzo meal dumplings. Passover noodles, noodles prepared from potato, flour, and eggs, served in soup. Batter is fried like thin crepes, which are stacked, rolled up, and sliced into ribbons. Sephardi foods. Unfortunately, one such food does not exist. It was known as the kafti kas de prasa, which was fried balls made of leeks, meat, and matzo meal. Lamb or chicken leg, a symbol of God's strong hand and Korban Pesach. Mina, pastel de Pesach, a meat pie made with matzos. Spring green vegetables, artichoke, fava beans, and peas.
Holy el Adonai, Ezach
Sermons, liturgy, and song. The story of Passover, with its message that slaves can go free and that the future can be better than the present, has inspired a number of religious sermons, prayers, and songs, including spirituals, what used to be called Negro spirituals within the African American community. Rabbi Philip R. Alstadt, an elderly leader of conservative Judaism, known for his fiery rhetoric and powerful oratory skills, wrote and spoke in 1939 about the power of the Passover story during the rise of Nazi persecution and terror. Perhaps in our generation, the counsel of our Talmudic sages may seem superfluous, for today the story of our enslavement in Egypt is kept alive not only by ritualistic symbolism, but even more so by tragic realism. We are the contemporaries and witnesses of its daily reenactment. Are not our hapless brethren in the German Reich eating the bread of affliction? Are not their lives embittered by complete disenfranchisement and forced labor? Are they not lashed mercilessly by brutal taskmasters behind the walls of concentration camps? Are not many of their menfolk being murdered in cold blood? Is not the ruthlessness of the Egyptian pharaoh surpassed by the sadism of the Nazi dictators? And yet, even in this hour of disaster and degradation, it is still helpful to visualize oneself among those who had gone forth out of Egypt. It gives stability and equilibrium to the spirit. Only our estranged kinsmen, the assimilated and the de-Judaized, go to pieces under the impact of the blow. But those who visualize themselves among the groups who have gone forth from the successive Egypts in our history never lose their sense of perspective, nor are they overwhelmed by confusion and despair. It is this faith, born of racial experience and wisdom, which gives the oppressed the strength to outlive the oppressors and to endure until the day of ultimate triumph, when we shall be brought forth from bondage unto freedom, from sorrow unto joy, from mourning unto festivity, from darkness unto great light, and from servitude unto redemption. Influence on other religions. There are many influences on the other religions, but at the present time, the two most controversial ones is Christianity and Islam. For Christianity, the Christian celebration of Good Friday finds its roots in the Jewish feast of Passover, the evening on which Jesus was crucified as the Passover lamb. For Islam, in the Sunni sect of Islam, it is recommended to fast on the day of Ashura, 10th of Muharram, based on narrations attributed to Muhammad. The fast is celebrated in order to commemorate the day when Moses and his followers were saved from Pharaoh by God by creating a path in the Red Sea, an example, the Exodus. According to Muslim tradition, the Jews of Medina used to fast on the 10th of Muharram in observance of Passover. In narrations recorded in the Al-Hadith, sayings of the Islamic prophet Muhammad of Sahih al-Bukhari, it is recommended that Muslims fast on this day. It is also stipulated that its observance should differ from the feast of Passover, which is celebrated by the Jews, and he stated that Muslims should fast for 2 days instead of one, either on the 9th and 10th day or on the 10th and 11th day of Muharram.
Adonai, Adonenu, Madir Shimcha bechol haaretz, asher tena'otcha al hashamayim. Adonai, Adonenu, Madir Shimcha bechol haaretz, asher tena'otcha al hashamayim. V'yolelim v'yonkim, ייסדת עוז למען צורריך, להשבית אויב ומתנכל. אדוני, אדוננו, מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ, אשר תנאותך על השמיים. כי ירא שמך מעשה צבאותיך, ירח בכוכבים אשר קונה